When he turned his back from shoulder to shoulder, it looked like as wide as the tailgate of a truck.
And just darkness, literal darkness, just came like all over, just all over me except where I was standing.
This thing let out the most blood-curdling, mind-blowing, spine-tingling scream that you've ever heard in your life, and it cut through me like a knife.
And I knew that they were going to take me. I just knew it. And then the next thing I can remember is being levitated.
Well, when I look in there, I see two big eyes staring back at me.
Hello and welcome. You're listening to the Bump Podcast, a place for the believers of the unexplained, monsters, and paranormal. Join us, and we'll go face to face with what goes bump in the night. Hey there, believers. I got a great episode for you today. I'm bringing back to the show none other than Justin from Appalachian Intelligence. Now, Ryan and Lance couldn't join us this week. We were hoping to get everybody together, but it's hard enough to get, one person at a time, much less trying to work three schedules. So me and Justin, we're going to sit down today. We're going to get into a little bit of everything. We're going to catch up with each other. It's been about a year since we got to talk, as close to what face-to-face is with Zoom. We keep up with each other all the time online and, in chat, but we catch up a little bit in person, so to speak. And then we get into our personal adventures, personal struggles. Man, it's just so good to catch up with him. And wouldn't you know it, I know we are in different states on each with their own adventure, but it seems like they're connected, and there's a hint to that with the name of this episode. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. Me and Justin dig into it, and there's probably going to be a lot more to come in a collaborative way in the future. So God bless. Enjoy the show. If you want to come on the show and share your story, holler at me. It is super easy to get a hold of me. Go to the bump podcast at gmail.com. Call me on the bump phone. Leave me a text, voicemail, whatever, at 304-812-0553. That's 304-812-0553. I will get back to you. Just holler at me on there. Big things happening. Third anniversary special is coming up very soon. Maybe as soon as a week or two from the time this airs. So thank you guys. 3 years. Went by in a flash. What a roller coaster it's been. But we went through it together. And I love you guys. And I thank you all for the support, for all the love. As this show has grown and evolved, you guys have just embraced it and made it better than what I could imagine. So I thank you for that. You're just wonderful. It's been a great 3 years. We'll get into that in a week or two, okay? All right, let's go ahead and bring Justin on and have some fun. All right. You got the record notification?
Absolutely got it.
All right. Now it's time where we pretend like we haven't been talking for half an hour and I'll welcome you to the show.
Yeah.
How's it going, man?
Dude, it's going great. Everything is going great. Super busy.
Yep.
Super busy. That's not always a bad thing. I'm busy in good ways. Spring sports. My son plays soccer. My daughter, my oldest daughter, she's playing softball and running track. My
Oh, wow.
smallest daughter, she's playing t-ball, which they coaxed me into coaching.
Mm.
So, we're talking games or practices every evening throughout the week. And I lead a teen ministry. So my Sundays are completely packed, which, dude, it's been awesome. This teen ministry has been a blessing. It's been awesome.
I know the audience may or may not be as interested as I am in that, but I am super interested in teen ministry. What is that about? Because my wife's urging me to do something with high school kids because where I teach at the school, and I love these kids, man, and I want to get the word to them outside of school, because I already sneak it in school sometime, when it comes up, I'm like, did you say something about, look, let's go, and I talk about it. But what do you do? How'd you get into teen ministry?
Well, I started back to this. I went to this church. It's probably only, I don't know, 2 or 3 miles from where I live, from my house. And I went there for a few years, one of those things, church hurt, people being people, to kind of keep drama down in that bay. We stepped away from that church, and I'm not even going to lie. I fell back. I used everything as an excuse. I was like, I don't really feel comfortable with this other church. We visited here and there. I don't really, it's not really lining up with where I want to be. And, it gets super easy to just fall back by the wayside. And, I still had faith in Christ, and but I wasn't living the way that I needed to be living. Right. I wasn't leading my home the way I needed to be leading my home. So one day, my oldest daughter, she just messaged me, and I know this didn't come from me. This is where it shows that, God is the ultimate father, even when we as fathers are failing. She just sends me a text message. She's out with her mama and papa one day. She actually sent her mommy a text message, said, I think I need to be saved. Oh, wow. And that was a slap in my face, man. It was like, okay, it's time to get your priorities straight. So anyway, I've always had a heart for, my kids at that time were getting into those teenage years. I've always coached them in sports that they play. So I've already had a heart and a relationship with a lot of kids in my area that are their same age, and coached them, watched them grow up, do all these different things. Yeah. So we started back going to this church that we used to go to. It had a new pastor and all this different stuff. We came back into the mix, and I don't know, man, it was like within a month's time, I was just talking about, how I had a heart for these teenagers, because to me, I've always felt like these kids in their teenage years, they get lost in the mix. Yep. You have these youth programs and children's church and vacation Bible school and all this stuff for the young kids.
Yep. And daycare. Yeah.
And daycare, nursery, you have all this stuff. And then you have your sermons and your Bible study and your worship that's geared for, adults, people with life experience, people that understand when a preacher's up there making some kind of illustration, it's geared toward the adults.
Right.
So I've always felt like teenagers have kind of been in this, they've been lost they left by the wayside.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I started talking to my wife. I started praying a lot about it. And I said, I think we should start a teen ministry. We should start a ministry to where, we've started doing it once a week now, every Sunday evening. But here's the thing. This is my ultimate goal, is this to not be a ministry to where these teens are coming in and me ministering to them, which that's a huge portion of it. It has to be.
Right.
They have to be fed to go into the community and feed others.
Right.
But this is a ministry that these teens are ministering to the community, are ministering in their schools, in their, workplaces, if they work. in there, with the teams that they play sports with. It's geared for them to be the ones in the ministry.
I love
so we
that.
do. We organize a lot of community events. We go out and we have a special needs baseball league that's starting up in May. We're going to go out a couple days and help with that. Just do a lot of these different things to go out and just help in the community and spread a little love and compassion that Christ would want us to do. And then on the flip side of that, if we're setting it up in a biblical system, just like a reward system, obviously we're not saved by our works,
right?
But we will be rewarded one day,
right,
based on those works that we perform with a pure heart. So when they go out and they bust their hind ends in the community and they're sharing the love and joy and compassion of Christ, and they're going and helping with all these different things, we raise money, we fundraise, we do all these different things, and we try to take a summer day trip or whatever to Soaky Mountain or the wilderness, down in Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge area.
Right.
And then at the end of every year, there's always this big winter extreme conference where you have all these Christian bands and speakers. It's like a 2 or 3 day event. We take them to that around the end of the year every year, just so they can go out and have a good time and enjoy, reap the benefits of all the hard work that they've put in throughout the year.
Well, I love it.
So yeah, that's what's been going on with that, man. I mean, it's been it's more of a blessing to me.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
I know that you've seen and probably even been a part of this mass revival that's just broken out across America.
Yep.
Well, the same thing happened in our little county.
Yep.
We had a bunch of different churches come together, and here's the awesome part of it, dude. Like, we actually missed a week's recording just because I was spending every day at this revival.
Oh yeah, man.
We did an entire it wasn't student led, but it was geared toward the students in the auditorium at our county high school.
Yep.
That was huge, dude. That was huge. And all these kids, I think we saw approximately 130 kids surrender their life to Christ that week.
Wow.
Performed probably 50, 60 plus baptisms there on the football field.
Wow.
It was amazing, dude. It was amazing. But that really,
yeah, that's wonderful.
It really kicked it into gear for me. Like, these kids being able to see them, like,
they're hungry, man.
They're hungry. And you would have one go up on stage and give their testimony.
Yeah.
And as they're walking off, away from off of the stage of the auditorium, walking down the steps, you would have 20 or 30 kids waiting on them at the bottom of the steps to greet them, to love on them, to hug them.
Yep.
And dude, like, that's a picture of, why aren't we doing that in church?
Yeah, really.
Why, when somebody goes up and gives their testimony, do we not have the whole congregation come up and love on them? And so the example that these kids set for me throughout this whole process, dude, it really did. It put a fire in my belly, and
no doubt,
man, it's been awesome. It's been a really cool thing to see these teenagers taking the gospel and running with it.
Yeah.
It's been awesome.
That is awesome, man. We're blessed because we live in a small community too, where people don't raise a big fuss about Jesus being in school. You know what I mean? So we have prayer club, so every week on Wednesday, we have 2 lunch periods, 2 lunch breaks. And so if you go into our auditorium, you'll catch, usually one of our students leading prayer club. We'll do that you get almost an hour-long service out of it, if you catch them both, So that's awesome. It is. It's great to see kids like that revival spirit, like you're talking about, that the Holy Spirit's moving here. And I think There's a good reason for it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and real quick get this out of the way too. The tech trouble we had when we got on here. I know this is a major flip, but I keep seeing your camera. Like while we're talking, I'm watching your camera. Like the light goes dark and then bright again, then dark again and then bright again. Like it wants to stop so bad, but it can't because we prayed over it.
Yeah, for sure.
But man, it was funny because as soon as we sat down, there was like a noise or something. You had to go check out. And when you did, I muted my mic and I was like, all right. And I said a really quick prayer over the equipment, tech stuff, so we can't have any problems. You come back, and you're like, all right, I'm back. And I can't hear you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't hear anything. And
was,
that's been, like we talked about a little bit pre-recording. Dude, that's been just run-of-the-mill stuff recently for us. We've kind of dove back into I don't know if I want to get into it because we might have way more tech stuff, but we've dove back into it's pretty ironic that we're talking to each other today because part of this whole shadow man experience that I had, when I was 17 years old, and all the tie-ins that's came about from that with Lance and, one of our buddies that was affected by a lot of this, they lived together for a long time. This guy went through it. He really did. Right. And it's like this thing just made its rounds. Well, again, just like, the ironic part about us talking today is I re-released the old interview that I did with you on here because, we started talking about like the next steps, like Lance's side of this whole thing. And we had a bunch of people reaching out like, oh man, I would really like to hear, your experiences in a full episode one day. And I was like, oh, well, that was really, really early on. And sometimes I forget that people don't just go back and listen to everything,
Right.
So I was like, well, I'm just going to rebrand this thing and re-release it, call it the prequel, put it out there today. And, it's got way more downloads just from today than it did forever from over a year ago.
Yeah, I love that, man. It is ironic how that episode of us is playing right now while we're sitting here recording our next one.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That was, I looked back. It was called, I called it Paranormal PTSD.
Yep.
With Appalachian Intelligence. And that was March of last year, March 2nd of last year.
Yeah. It's been over a year ago, man.
Yeah. So I hope everybody goes back and listens to that again, man. I hope they listen to your release of it.
Well, no, yeah, absolutely. Well, y'all go check it out on check it out on the Bump podcast too, right here with Bo, because he was kind enough and gracious enough to allow me to come on, and we'd only been podcasting at that time for like 3 months. So
I fell in love with you guys like right off the bat. I was like, these guys, these could be my neighbors. You know, like you are.
Yeah, we are neighbors. Well, that's the thing too, and that's why I reached out to you early on, because I was starting to put some feelers out here and there, trying to get guests, and you know how it is when you're first getting started, and we started with zero game plan. It was just like shoot from the hip. We'll do it as we go. But I heard your show early on, or actually, I'm thinking I heard you on Tinfoil Hat,
maybe.
And I was like, as soon as you started talking, I was like, this dude is from around here. He's from around where I am.
Busted.
So I started digging and doing a little research. I'm like, Bo Kennedy, Bump Podcast. And then I found out, where you were from in Southern West Virginia. And I was like, I've got to talk to this dude. We're in the same vein here.
Yeah, man.
And, he's been doing this for a minute. I'm a rookie in the game here. So I want to talk to him. I want to pick his brain. I want to do all these things, but same thing, dude. We fell in love with your show too, very early on, and decided like, we want to surround ourselves with Bo, with what he's doing, and do this thing together. And we do, man. Like there's been a lot of times where I've reached out to you and just been like, looking for advice or, just saying, hey man, how's it going? And vice versa. You've reached out to me.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. I love keeping in touch with you guys because it's always fun. You know what I mean? And I get to live vicariously through you, Justin, because you got two awesome co-hosts. Like I get to hear you all play off each other. And one of you all pick up, and the other one leaves off, and somebody's always, it's usually Ryan's got something real smart to say. You know what I mean? Something witty. And I'm like, where's my Ryan and Lance at?
Yeah.
I love the dynamic you guys have developed, and man, it's such a good show. It's such a good show. And I know everybody listening to this is probably like, all right, you guys are caught up. Shut up. But
leave us alone. It's been a minute.
Yeah. So just tell me, I wrote notes, man. Let me get professional. I wrote notes and I don't remember why. I put metallic sound.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You told me that we did an episode with our coon hunting boys down in South Carolina.
Okay.
Coon hunting confidentials. Y'all go check them out too. They're a great bunch of dudes. The guy, Daniel, one of the hosts of the show, was telling me about an experience that he had out hunting one time when he heard this big metallic sound in the woods.
Oh, that's
we
right.
dropped the episode, and you commented on the episode drop or the promo on Instagram and was like, hey, I heard that in the woods one time too. So I was like, well, we got to talk about it. So let's talk about it.
That's it. Metallic. Okay. Yeah, mine was a little different than what they were talking about. Because I remember you brought up missing 411 too, the hunting with that metallic clap kind of. My metallic sound is when I worked down at Chief Logan State Park. I ran the wildlife exhibit, and we had wild boars, black bears, barred owl, red-tailed hawks, all that kind of stuff. All the local wildlife. We have it live in like an outdoor zoo exhibit kind of thing.
Okay.
And I ran that for like 3 years, something like that. I loved it. But I was outside in the deep woods because it's like a mile off the main park. It's just up in a holler.
Yeah.
So it was just me and the animals back there, man. Nothing anywhere else. Most people passed that road because they didn't know anything was up there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was up there one day and I heard what I can only describe like either a guardrail or like maybe a giant metal tube. It sounded like somebody had taken a hacksaw to it and just run, back and forth. Like a big wide teeth hacksaw just hacking away at like a metal pipe. And I thought, what in the world is that noise? And I walked around, and the odd thing was I kind of located where the sound was coming from, but it was just this big poplar tree. It was just a big tree, man. And when I got within maybe, 30, 45 feet of it, it stopped. But there was nowhere else for it to be coming from. And it was like echoing loud. And there's barely any electricity up there. Like nobody ran a PA system or tried to, try to prank me or anything like that. There's no internet service. So I was like, it's nobody's phones. But it definitely happened. And it happened for minutes, like long enough for me to be like, what is that? And start walking around after it finally caught my attention. Because there's all kinds of like animal noises. Surrounded by boars and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But something broke through the regular noise and it caught my attention. And I was like, well, that's not going away. Let me go find out what that is. And it was that. It's just this weird metallic sawing kind of sound.
See, that's so strange, man. Like it's weird when you have these things come up in an environment that it's not supposed to be in.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like you hear a bunch of these stories about these different metallic sounds, and it's always metallic.
Yeah, man.
You always hear that, but it's different versions of this metallic sound. Sometimes it's just like this steel trap door slamming.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's like this grinding of gears or something. Now you're talking about like this hacksaw kind of sound,
Yeah,
on a galvanized pipe or something. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things. Like, I don't know. I don't know what that is. I don't know what it means. There's all kinds of theories out there,
Right.
but I mean, nothing that we can really put our finger on it. But we just know, like I said on our show the other day, it's one of these things. You hear strange noises in the woods, it's Bigfoot. You hear strange noises in your home, it's ghosts, some kind of paranormal activity.
Yeah.
You hear strange noises in the sky, we don't know what the hell that is, but it's really scary.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's it, man.
that's just the way it is.
Yeah. That's it.
I don't
But
know.
yeah.
You have these, that always trips me out when you have these sounds happening in places that they just don't belong.
Yeah, it just don't make sense.
Yeah.
And that park is so full of like weird.
Yeah.
Like weird. I could make a whole episode of just me talking about Chief Logan State Park, but
Right.
that would be boring for you to sit here and listen to all that.
Well, it's a state park,
Yeah.
so you can go ahead and check that box.
Right.
And it's in West Virginia, so you can go ahead and check that box. And yeah, I think that's all that needs to be said.
Yeah.
That's just like the Breaks Interstate Park here. We have an interstate park in my hometown that runs, it's shared between Hayside and Elkhorn City, Kentucky.
Oh
This is
yeah.
why it's an interstate park.
That's a good spot.
Oh yeah. And there's all kinds of weird that comes from that place, dude. All kinds of weird. I've been down there, like, caving and trail hiking, and like I've spent a lot of time at the Breaks. And I don't know, dude. It's just like, even before I really got into this stuff, there's just certain places that you go that it just feels a little bit off.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
Elkhorn City is one of those places.
Oh yeah, for sure. Elkhorn City is well, I'm telling you, man, I may end up having to do this little mini documentary about the Russell Fork River. It runs right through the headwaters run from a place it's called Big A Mountain. It's like right in Council, Virginia. Runs through our town of Hayside, runs through Elkhorn City, runs almost into Pikeville, Kentucky.
Oh wow.
But there's so many stories that come from around and along this river. Our cliff rock carvings right there overlooking the river.
Really?
There's a big mine explosion that happened back in the early 50s, I think, early 1950s, that, a dozen or so men died. Like, it was a big, huge deal that happened right along the Russell Fork River.
Wow.
I've talked to different people about, family stories. There's a spot in between the Breaks Interstate Park and Elkhorn City before they put this 4-lane through there, before they rerouted it. It used to just be this old curvy, windy road called the Narrows. That's what we always called it, the Narrows. It's cliff rock on one side, literally rocks falling off and crushing cars every now and then, and a river on the other side. Dude, so many stories I've heard from that area. I mean, everything from like old homesteaders making deals with wild hairy men.
Oh, nice.
To what I will call a Lilith type entity being seen. The 3-toed footprints, but these were more like bird feet.
Yep.
I mean, all kinds of stuff from around that area, dude. And not to mention the awesome amount of research that Nathan Isaacs and the Pennyroyal bunch put into all of their ties with Aleister Crowley and the breaks. Jack Parsons. I don't think I've ever said this on the show. Jack Parsons had ownership stakes in a lot of the coal mines in this area. Jack Parsons went on to work for NASA. He was part of this whole Babylon Rising thing.
Right.
I mean, he was a student of Crowley.
Interesting.
It's crazy, dude. Like
that is.
The more that we dig into our area, and we ain't even gotten into a whole lot of things that just me and you have talked about personally.
Right.
But the more you dig, man, the more that you realize there's just something about this place. There's something. I don't know if it's the energy of the earth. I don't know if it's the electromagnetic fields. I don't know if it's because a bunch of old gods were imprisoned underneath the mountains.
Yeah, you hit on that. And how awesome. Look, when this granny witch told you that there's old gods under the mountains, man, you do realize that my area is surrounded by mounds.
Yep.
Which are said to have giants buried in them.
Yeah.
They've excavated some on accident, some just trying to make a flat spot, and we're talking like 8 and 9 footers. Those are the old gods, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely they are. Or their offspring.
Yes, at least the offspring.
I mean, it's
at
just
least the offspring.
If you look at the world like, the both of us do,
yeah,
through a biblical context, through the lens of the Bible.
Here we go, Genesis 6.
Here we go, straight to Genesis 6. When we were just talking about how everything is Genesis 6.
Awesome.
But it's true, man.
Yeah, man.
I mean, it's true.
Yeah.
Like, and the crazy thing is, like, the weird thing when this granny witch was, when I was talking to her and getting all this stuff from her, she's a good Christian lady. Like, she's stout in her faith.
Right.
I mean, she really is. But as well as I do, a lot of the church, they don't really put any study time into Genesis 6. They don't. Well, a lot of that generation couldn't even really read. They just went along with what a preacher was telling them, or what they're. Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
So for her to make these conclusions, but not based on the Bible, but based on life experience, that's what was so intriguing to me.
Yeah, man.
Because it may as well have been, I don't know. It may as well have been somebody. I mean, I hate to say it in these terms, but I'm just talking about the way that they were looking at it.
Right.
It may as well have been somebody practicing in the occult saying that. And then in my brain, I'm saying, well, yeah, that's Genesis 6.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going on.
It's literally what it says.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Like, that's a theory that I love. And I mean, not only do I think that it's a theory, but I believe it's got a lot of roots, man. I think there's a lot of evidence to support that a lot of these old gods, these little g gods, they operated in this area, dude.
Yep.
You have documentation. Well, not documentation, really. There wasn't a whole lot of documentation kept, but you have all the oral history and the legends from the natives.
Yeah, man.
Talking about all these different entities that they worshipped and talked to. You have our ancestors, the Scots Irish, the German, that came over. They had a belief in all of these entities and all of these different old gods. They brought them right over to here.
They brought them with them.
I mean, literally, you look through, and I talk about it all, that you look back through ancient civilization, a certain few of these old entities, they have 1,000 different names.
Yeah.
But they're described and talked about and have the same characteristics all the way from ancient Sumer to today.
Yep. You brought one
You
of
look
them
at
up.
every civilization.
You brought
Yeah,
one
absolutely.
of them. That harpy herself, man.
Yep.
Look, that has been brought up. That is the one that is constantly being brought up around me.
Yep.
That's the one that I accredit a lot of disaster to around here. Like in my personal life, I know that we have fought each other. I know for a fact.
Yeah.
That I've come to blows with that entity. Like, it's so weird, man. And I'd probably lose followers. I'd probably lose friends if I say all this stuff out loud. But yeah, that the whole Lilith creature, character, demon, whatever you want to call it, I feel like that spirit is thick in our area, man. I mean, it didn't help.
And I don't know. And why her?
Yeah.
That's my question.
Right.
Because you hear it everywhere.
Everywhere.
And, I've heard your take on, what's happened in your personal life.
Yeah, man.
And dude, that's tragic. Like,
yeah,
I've been in prayer like a bunch for you in that situation.
I appreciate that, man.
I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, man.
Like, that's world shattering.
Yeah.
It really is.
I appreciate you, man.
But
yeah.
I don't understand why her. You hear her everywhere in this area. Yeah. There are whole factions of people still today that worship her. I mean, for God's sakes, Ward Heine done an entire docuseries based on it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what, yes, Ward, my man. I talk to him all the time. When we were up there at that Serpent Mound, all the symbology was happening, man. All the symbolism, like the owls, like we were hearing it while we were up there. That night, bro. That night. I don't know if Shadow Appalachia, I don't know if we're still doing that or not. Like,
I don't either.
Like, it kind of just went kind of quiet.
Yeah.
But I know Richie, he might wake up in the morning and like his ADHD kick off like mine does, and he'll be like, all right, I'm going all in again, So yeah. I don't want to give too many details, but I'll tell you this, when we were up there and we got to that Serpent Mound, we performed kind of like a reclamation of the area. Okay. There's a certain psalm I like to read. I like to read Psalm 91. Mm-hmm. So we recited Psalm 91 over the area. I happen to have brought some holy water. So on the spot that looked like might have been a place for sacrificial offerings, we covered it with holy water. Josh covered it with a crucifix. And we left it there, actually. Like, we reclaimed that land in the name of Christ. It got weird. Really, really weird after I got home, man. Like, 3 times that night, I woke up with some kind of, I guess it was a spider or something, like crawling across my throat. Like, woke me up 3 times. Like, every time I'd wake up and I'd grab something and I'd just throw it. Because, I mean, I just grabbed a spider. You know what I mean? And yeah. If my wife knew this, she's got like paralytic fear of spiders, man. Like, I've kept this is the one secret I've kept from my wife for the last 6 months. 3 times that night I woke up with something crawling on me, and I thought maybe it's my beard tickling me, or no, I grabbed a big fleshy body of something and slung that thing. 3 times in the middle of the night, woke me up. Never happened before in my life.
Yeah.
And it was just like it was like when it happened, you'll know what I'm talking about, man. Like when you feel something dark,
Yep.
you know what I mean?
Oh, I know exactly what you mean.
It didn't feel like a bug.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm not afraid of bugs. But whatever this was like, I felt so vulnerable,
Yeah.
you know?
And it was 3 times.
And it was 3 times. And I'm up. Insomnia hits, there's no sleeping. It was that very next week when me and my daughter, when everything came to a head. Bam. Big crashing blow to my family.
Yeah.
Because we basically walked in there, stuck a stick in the hornet's nest, shook it around real good, and walked out like big dogs. I cannot express how serious spiritual warfare is, man. Like,
Absolutely.
even being
Absolutely.
prayed up, weapons will form against you.
Yep.
You know, that's the thing. They will form against you. That shield of faith in Ephesians 6 that blocks the flaming arrows of the adversary. Listen to that. You're going to get shot at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, shots get fired, bro.
Absolutely.
And I credited it all to that spirit in particular. There's tons of stuff I found. Like this room that I'm in used to be her bedroom. And I transferred my office after a few months when I knew that she wasn't coming back. I went ahead and I just put my show stuff up here. You know, this is where I come. I do my praying and my Bible study, and which is kind of like reclaiming this place. You know, because the stuff I found in this room will make your skin crawl.
Oh, I bet.
But yeah, man, it's been very real. Been very real. And that serpent mound kicked off a lot of things. But I'll tell you this. There's more than one serpent mound up there. A very good friend of mine who I could like throw a rock at his house. He sent me pictures after I got back. He said, "Is this where you went?" That is not where I went, Justin. That's not where I went at all.
Wow.
It's on the same ridge. I was just in a different spot. But he sent me pictures of another serpent mound, and you could see impressions made in this stone that they have given this one the head of a dragon. It looks more like a dragon. And he said he knows a general location of where this is at. He's really big into metal detecting. And he's been in that area. But the exact location, he's not 100% sure on. He knows the general spot. So we have plans of going up there and checking it out. And it's on the same mountain ridge that you asked me to check out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Man.
You go on one side of the mountain and you're in Holden. Okay. It's a little town, a little community called Holden. You go up over the mountain, come down the other side, you're in Omar. And if people listen, you know, if people from your show are listening to this episode right now, they've heard you mention Omar.
Yeah. Yeah, they have.
I don't know how much you want to give out on all of that. But
Well, we can get into it, man. Because again, it's just so everything's so weird all the time.
No,
all
man.
the time. It's so weird. And you know, like you were talking about spiritual warfare. You know, I think a big thing that we have to realize is that when we, just like y'all, you went up there, you reclaimed this spot for Christ, you dished out a major blow.
Yep.
Well, these, and I'm just going to keep calling them old gods because it's what they are. They've been worshipped. for forever. They're little g gods. They're
Yep.
not the Most High, and
Right.
they are under the foot of the Most High.
Oh yeah.
But that doesn't mean that they can't operate.
All right.
That doesn't mean that. I mean, if you're in a war, say that there's a revolt that breaks out in America right now. There's a civil war, but it's the people versus the government.
Right.
We'll say that. Well, even if the government has got their foot on the throat of the people are still going to rise up. They're going to have these conflicts in different places. They're still going to win these little mini battles.
Yeah, there'll be pockets.
Absolutely. There'll be pockets that rise up and they win.
Yep.
Well, I think that happens in spiritual warfare every day,
100%.
even though we have faith in the one that has his foot on all of these old entities, these demons, these whatever they are. There's still going to be pockets of upheaval and rising that they do. And who are they going to attack?
Right.
Well, they're going to attack the people on the front lines that are fighting in Christ's army. I mean, that's who's going to get the blow.
Yeah. Any light in the darkness is a target, man.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, with that, like, that's one thing that, that's one thing that we have been in the middle of right now with this whole Shadow Man thing. There's no doubt in my mind that this entity that I've dealt with, and I still feel like we're dealing with, just on a different level.
Right.
He's kind of attacking in different ways now. There's no doubt in my mind that this is a demonic entity. No doubt.
Right.
I just know that the spiritual protection that I have now, he can't operate in the same capacity that he did 17 years ago when I was a dumb kid that didn't believe in anything.
Right.
So that's one of those things. Like, can he still operate and shoot some of these arrows? Absolutely. Is my shield am I going to drop that shield every now and then and he'll get me right in the shoulder? Yeah, for sure. But, there's going to be, more often than not, that shield's going to be up and it's going to take the brunt of what they're trying to deliver.
Amen.
But anyway, getting into this whole Omar thing, since we're talking about all this, we had a lady reach out, and she's really big, even though her name has been said all over the place. And she actually left a comment the other day that said, well, so much for not getting my name out there. But we had a lady reach out and start sending some information through a third party at first. And this information that she was receiving, and I'll just keep this pretty vague, the information that she was receiving was directed toward us, toward the AI guys. And it started out like, just something really. I was sitting down researching for an upcoming episode one night, and I get a message from this third party that says, hey, I have this friend, and she wants me to deliver a message to you guys. And all it said was the southwest corner of the lower 19. I was like, what the heck does that even mean? Like, that doesn't make any sense. I have no idea. So I told this third party, I was like, dude, I don't have a clue what she's talking about. So I sit down, I keep going on about my research. And the episode that I was researching was our Cumberland Gap Cave Monsters episode.
Okay.
Where we were talking about the Cumberland Gap in Lee County, Virginia. Well, I pull up a map because I'm looking at the geography of all this stuff that's going on, what the land looks like, where the stories are coming from. And I've been to this place 1,000 times. I just was trying to get a better view, for my research that I was putting in. So I pull up a map of the state of Virginia, and I'm looking, and I'm like, wait a minute. Lee County's in the far southwest corner. So I count the counties along the bottom of the state of Virginia, and either bordering or very closely bordering the lower boundary of the state of Virginia, there's 19 counties. So I was like, holy crap. She literally just sent me a message telling me what I'm researching right now, real time.
Yeah. Wow.
So I was like, all right, that's weird. So, all this went back through the third party a little bit. And finally I was like, I'm just reaching out to her myself. I mean, I'm going to see, like, I'm an inquisitive guy. I'm a host of a podcast.
Yeah.
You start giving me some information, I want to find out where it's coming from, what kind of person you are, what kind of heart you're doing this with. Like, I need to know a little about you.
That's right.
So I start talking to her. She's telling me, how this whole thing comes about and how she does this stuff, and, how she doesn't want her name out there. And, she's not trying to make any money off of anything. She gets these messages and she delivers them to whoever they're supposed to be delivered to. So she starts talking about, and just in our conversation, I could tell that she didn't really know a lot about our adventure, this whole thing that we've been in the middle of with trying to find the Swift Silver Mine and the Cliff Rock carvings. So I just generally asked her, I was like, okay, so if I asked you to locate something that I'm trying to find, would you be able to do that? She's like, well, I can give it a shot. I said, okay. Now she's giving me a whole lot of information, in between all of this, like a lot of stuff that's all panned out to this point. And then some things that she said, hey, wait around a little while, this is going to happen. So there's still some things I've got my eye out for. So I asked her this. Well, first she draws, a few hours go by, or it may have even been the next morning. I'm not real sure. But I just asked her, I said, I'm looking for something. Can you tell me where it is? So she draws a blue circle over southwestern Virginia, pretty much, and southern West Virginia, and says, whatever you're looking for is in this vicinity. And I was like, well, yeah, anybody that has any knowledge of the show, that's where we're at and where we're from.
Right.
So I was like, well, yeah, she's spot on there, but that may have just taken a little bit of research to do. But then she says, would you want me to be more specific? Something like GPS coordinates. And I said, yes, please. If you can send me exact coordinates, I'm down. Absolutely. So again, a few hours goes by. She does whatever she does. And she sends me back these GPS coordinates. When I first pulled them up, it shows Omar, West Virginia. And I was like, she's way off. Omar don't have anything to do with nothing. I don't know anything about Omar. Right. So that was literally like a point. I was at work, message comes through, I see it, look it up real fast. I'm like, nah, she's way off. That's nowhere near where we're looking. We have some really good intel of where we think this is, where we fully believe this is. And this isn't really close. It's close, but it's not, it's still 100 miles away or whatever.
Right.
Well, then that's when I let this sit for like a couple days. Like the rest of the week plays out. Saturday morning pops up, or Sunday morning, something like that. And I'm like, well, all right, I need to take a look at this. Like if she has this much conviction in what she does, and she sends me these GPS coordinates. I need to at least look into it. So I pull up Omar on the map, and I'm like, shoot, man, this is just south of my boys Bo and Josh and Richie. Like,
Yeah,
this
man.
is right around where they are.
Where I grew up.
So, yeah. Oh, I didn't know that at the time. So I was like, all right, I'm going to shoot Bo a message. I'm going to ask him what he knows about Omar. And then as I was typing the message to you, this thought hits me. There's no way in the world this could be close to where they found that Serpent Mound. And whenever you said, dude, it's pretty close. It's like the same general location where we went and found it or rediscovered that Serpent Mound. I was like, holy crap. And here's what she said. She said, these coordinates, they may not be the spot where what you're looking for is at. This may not be the location of what you're looking for, but it's where you need to start your journey.
Okay. Yeah.
And I mean, I still don't really know exactly what that means. I don't know. Now, I know based on all the research that I've done into all this thing.
Uh-huh.
I know that John Swift, the man, because there came a point that I was like, okay, if we're going to find this dude's mine that we fully believe that he covered up intentionally, that he hid away intentionally, that's why it's never been found. If we're going to find this mine or these caches of silver that he's left in what we believe to be a whole bunch of different places, I need to know the man. I need to be able to follow his footsteps, to know what he did, what he was about. And man, when I started doing that, holy crap.
Yeah, bro.
So he comes over. And for a few years, he's just a pirate. He's a pirate on the coasts of the Carolinas, and he's doing all this different. So he had a real love for treasure early on, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
But Swift is a big time name from England, where he's coming from. His distant cousin, Jonathan Swift, about 150 years prior, was a pretty well-known author. You may have heard of things like Gulliver's Travels. That's Jonathan Swift, his cousin. So he's carrying around a pretty heavy name.
Yeah.
Well, he comes over. He's doing pirating for a while. Eventually, he sets up shop, settles down in Alexandria, Virginia. You have the Revolutionary War that's going on around the time that he's here. After the Revolutionary War is over, there's still some conflict and all this stuff going on, but mostly it's between the settlers and the natives. So John Swift joins General Braddock's militia, his army, that's going to fight and try to claim land from these natives. Well, they get ambushed by the Shawnee one time, almost wipes out all of General Braddock's regiment that he had there. Well, Swift, being a super smart man that he was, he surrendered really quickly.
All right.
And said, y'all can take me as a prisoner. You can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
So they took Swift as a prisoner. He met up a couple guys that were prisoners, like slave prisoners for the Shawnee then, white men. One was named Monday and one was named Ferguson, I think. So it was F, I think Ferguson. Well, these guys start telling Swift about how the Cherokee and the Shawnee, they worked together and they're mining this silver. The silver mine was already there. The natives had been mining it. He starts looking around and noticing these different silver ornaments and items that they're utilizing. So evidently, I don't know how he does it. Evidently, he was just a man of He was a great con man, I guess.
Right.
He comes to be so well liked and loved by the people that took him as prisoner that he ends up marrying a princess in the Shawnee tribe. He marries a lady by the name of Elizabeth Cornstalk,
Of course.
Princess Aracoma's sister,
Of course.
Chief Cornstalk's daughter.
Yeah.
So we know that Swift was operating in the same areas that Chief Cornstalk and Princess Aracoma, which pretty sure is buried or was at one point right under your feet.
Yes. Like there's a community about 5-10 minutes away from me right now named Aracoma. The state building in downtown Logan has a tribute to Princess Aracoma because it's built on the burial site of their people. It's like they excavated the bones and shipped them off to New York. This Guyana region, this Logan area, this is where they lived. Like, this is directly where they lived.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that would have been John Swift's sister-in-law.
Yeah. Old Beth probably lived right up the street here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So you start digging into all that, and then you get GPS coordinates and say, well, this is where your journey should start. You know, this is maybe for historical reasons, maybe for this, but there's so many connections that I know that it sounds crazy to say that a treasure hunt and a rediscovered serpent mound could be connected. But I just told you that there's a very good possibility that they're connected.
Yep.
John Swift himself may have been at this serpent mound that you guys rediscovered with the Shawnee while they're performing whatever rituals or worship that they were doing at the time.
Dude, there could be silver under the mound. It's all stacked. It's a stacked rock mound. You know what I mean? There could be a ledger in there. There could be anything. There could be a cache there that says, "Hey, from this area, use this map."
Yeah.
I think I either have or can get the coordinates that we were at exactly. Would you want those?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And I'm not that. Look, this is not me trying to sneak in on any of y'all stuff.
No. And I was going to offer the same thing. If you tell me, like, if there's a physical address that matches your coordinates, I'll go knock on doors for you. Like,
well, no, this is just in the middle of it's in the middle of the woods on the ridge.
That's the coordinates she gave you take you to a ridge.
It right, like you have a ridge line, and then probably, I don't know, a couple 100 feet.
Yeah.
Between like the ridge line and there's a small community, or not even a community really. It's just our old hollow roads, our ridge roads, where you got a few houses that are lining the street.
Yeah.
This place is in between the ridge line and this road houses all this stuff on the bottom.
Okay.
So probably a couple 100 feet down lower past the ridge, which is the exact same kind of location where our petroglyphs, our cliff rock carvings are that we rediscovered.
Yep.
So it would be the same kind of MO. Like, you follow this ridge line, you hop off a space down on the mountainside, and you put this. And I believe, like, I have theories now about our area with the rock carvings. I believe it was an old temple. I believe it was a legit temple.
Really?
So you guys have these serpent mounds. We have found what I believe was a temple with all these crazy carvings on it. I mean, I think a lot of what we're doing, I think a lot of the research that we're putting in, I think it's all connected.
Yeah, I think we're dancing here, man.
We are. We are.
Let's exchange, even if it's off air. Let's exchange GPS coordinates. We'll put them up on with a Google Earth or whatever, and see where we're at in relation to each other.
Yeah.
And like I said, if it lands in somebody's backyard, if it lands on a rock, I know Richie's down to go with me. You know,
Right.
I'll grab him and my buddy. We'll head out there. We'll film it. If I have any kind of signal, I'll call you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
sure.
We'll see. We'll uncover what we can for you, man. I want no claim. I just want to help you out.
Yeah.
If this is your starting point, you know, I would love to help you get a starting spot.
Yeah. Well, I would appreciate that. And maybe we can even, set it up and do it in a way like, you know, once everything slows down a little bit for us. I know it'll be a little harder for Ryan to do anything now that he's in South Carolina, but you know, maybe me and Lance can ride up and we can all go out and look at this place. Because I mean, that's the thing. We're not like, you hear so many people that start talking about, or you try to gain some information about all this from, and they're just so tight-lipped. You know, they're going to find it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Dude, I am of the vast belief that unless we all share what knowledge that we have, this is never going to be you can't just find everything that you find individually and try to hold tight to that,
right,
and expect that you're ever. That's not the way that it is. I don't think that's what this is set up for. And at this point, I mean, yeah, would it be awesome to find a bunch of silver and get rich? Duh. I mean,
right.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. But at this point, it's more about the adventure to me, man. It's more about, we've started this thing, and that's what we do, is we try to find answers.
How fun. Yeah.
And you get to play Indiana Jones throughout this whole thing. I mean,
love it. Yeah, man.
But yeah, we can definitely, because again, I feel like this is all connected. I feel like that what we found in researching the journals and looking at the history of his life and the places that we've found and discovered and the stories that I've heard. I mean, in his journals, he talks about burying a cache of silver. John Swift himself talks about burying a cache of silver that was $25,000 to $30,000 worth at that time, in the 1780s. And he says that he buried it next to a peculiar looking rock, a certain ways past the headwaters of what he called Big Sandy Creek. Okay. The Russell Fork River runs into the Big Sandy River.
Yeah.
It probably wouldn't have been called Russell Fork River at the time.
Right.
They would have took the name of the biggest river, and everything that ran off of it would have been a creek.
Yep.
And he says that there was an old beech tree that him and Mundy and another guy, I can't remember his name, carved their initials into, and a trowel and a compass rose. And that's where it was, left it. I talked to a guy, and I didn't tell anything. The only thing that we were talking about was the rock. That was it. None of the Swift Silver stuff, nothing about the journals, none of this stuff. I talked to a guy that built the well site that's along the same kind of hiking path to get down to this thing. And he says that in the mid-90s, he pushed over a big beech tree that had a bunch of initials on it and this weird compass looking thing. His exact words.
No way.
Yeah. Absolutely. So it's like,
it has to be there.
It has to be. So
Did you go
somewhere
there?
It has to be. I've been there several times. I cannot find this big beech tree, but there is this gets weird again. There's a grove of new beeches that's toward the back of this well site, which tells me that there's been beech trees pushed over,
Yep.
been covered back up when they built the pad of this well site, and now these new beech trees are growing from
that. Yeah.
what's been covered up.
Yeah.
So in my mind, automatically, I'm thinking, well, if there was anything here to be found, it would have been found when they built this well site. I mean, they literally dug up a massive portion of the earth where I believe this thing is.
Right.
But then I get a message from this same contact, and all it says is what you're looking for right now is 12 degrees northwest. And I don't even really know what that means, but
From what?
I don't know. Everything's so cryptic. I gotta figure it all out.
Oh my gosh.
It's like I'm Robert Langdon in a Dan Brown novel.
That's exactly it, man.
I don't know, dude. Like, I believe that Swift left a bunch of these markers. You know, he talks about it in his journals. Like, he buried these caches. You know, the silver operations that he went and kind of swiped from the Shawnee that was mining it. He turned right back around and was trying to hide it and run it in different locations from these bandits who were just the Shawnee that was trying to claim back their silver.
Get their stuff back.
Stole. Yeah, that was it. I don't know, man. It's all interesting. It's been a crazy wild ride, but just the whole Omar thing.
Yes.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Because again, you know, early on, we talked to Josh and Richie back in November. And just in the conversations that we had with them, there were so many different tie-ins to whether it was experiences that we were having or, you know, certain things that kept coming up in our lives, and all these different things. You know, we found the rock and y'all rediscovered the Serpent Mound around the same time.
Yeah.
You know, all these things about Chief Cornstalk come up. So, you know, we had all these different things going on that were kind of tying us together. But then the icing on the cake is you get GPS coordinates that say, hey, this is a spot you need to look into on the same ridge.
Yeah. That's crazy. That is beautiful.
It's nuts, dude. We've gotten rid, the Hill Folk community, they've gotten rid of the word synchronicities because Lance just doesn't like that word.
Yeah.
And they've replaced it with holler flags. So everything that's been going on with us, it's been a whole lot of holler flags.
A holler flag. I like it.
Yep.
I like it. Yeah, the Hellier gang, they can keep their synchronicities. We'll use holler flags. Which, speaking of those people, I think Hellier's dropping a new series of something.
They are, and it looks nuts.
Yeah.
What's that called? Shoot.
The Unbinding.
Unbinding.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. How about we just go ahead and keep it bound, huh? How about we do that? Because last time they got good and curious, they wound up going into a cave and being the very dark force that they were searching for. You know,
for
sure.
They're
like, let's go in here and maybe we'll find some people in, you know, doing an incantation or whatever. So they go in there and they do an incantation. I'm like beating the computer. Don't you see what you're doing?
Well, that's exactly what they did. And
like
I believe they may have experienced it that night and didn't even really realize it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's again, dude, it's these old gods and they operate in different ways. And, that's what we've said a whole lot about this whole adventure that we've been on, because there's been a whole lot of times, man, that I've literally had to sit down and be like, okay, something's leading this. I have to discern what that is.
Yep.
We have to discern what that is, because Ryan made one of his little witty statements one day, and dude, it struck home and hit me. And I was like I really had to sit down and do some major meditation on what he said. And he didn't even really, it was just Ryan being Ryan.
Right.
He said, what if everything that's going on right now is just a ploy? What if Pan's leading this whole thing and he's just leading us to a location so we can dig him out?
Oh my gosh.
And when he said that, and he was just goofing around. I mean, he was just joking.
Yeah.
But when he said it, I was like, dude, holy crap. Like,
time to
what
stop.
What if?
Yeah.
What if this is some kind of initiation that, we're being led by? Because, dude, there's been so many times that information just pops up out of nowhere that leads us down another detour or another winding road. It may come to a dead end, or something may blossom from it, and it leads to the next step and the next step. And in the middle of all that, all these holler flags are popping up,
Right.
and a bunch of weird stuff starts going on simultaneously. And it's like, what's leading it? Because a lot of these doors are just opening and we're stepping right through it.
Right. Man, ain't we a mouse
so
after
that's
this
one of
cheese,
those things,
man.
like, absolutely. Absolutely. And the cheese ain't free.
No. Well,
so I don't know, dude. It's one of those things that, we're going to stay the course and we're going to keep doing, but it's all, we got to tread carefully. You got to make sure that what we're doing, and I think this is what ultimately it leads to, on my end anyway. And it goes right back to the same way that I feel about it. All of this information that we've gathered, all the research, all the knowledge from it. Yeah, absolutely. We could have kept it to ourselves and just been out searching and hunting. But the story and the adventure and the history behind it,
yeah,
I think is so important to our area, and, just our folklore, our history, our legends, all this different stuff, that I feel like it needs to be shared, number one. But I feel like a bunch of people should share it together. I don't feel like this is just our adventure, our journey. And I feel like as long as what we're doing with the right heart, we're doing with the right kind of intentions, then, if something that's not on the good spectrum,
right,
is leading it, well, eventually they're going to shut it down, or we're just going to overcome whatever it is they're trying to do.
Yeah, they'll show their hand. They always do.
Oh yeah, they have to.
Yep.
They have to.
They have to
ultimately get what they want.
Right, it's part of it. They have to show. So
yeah, man.
But yeah, I agree with you, brother. It's all about the adventure. You mentioned Indiana Jones. That's like, if I had a fictional hero, he'd be top 3.
Oh yeah.
Conan the Barbarian, Indiana Jones, and Daniel Boone. Those are like my guys, outside of the Bible, of course. It's those guys, man. It's adventure. It's all about adventure.
Yeah.
That's all I want.
Yeah.
And
it is, man.
That is the reward. The adventure is the reward.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what we've said 100,000 times.
Yeah.
is if, we never find, a penny of these caches of silver, or, this mine or whatever, the philanthropic journey that it's led us on, that's worth it, man. It's worth it to be able to say, hey, I was chasing after this silver for a while, and man, a lot of weird stuff happened, and all this craziness came about, and we talked to so many cool people with all of these awesome stories. At the end of the day, if that's what we're left with, I'm fine with that. So be it.
Absolutely.
As long as it don't turn me into one of these old gray-headed, frazzled up men at the end of his days, like I almost had it, scratching at his beard, all wired-eyed. As long as it don't turn into an obsession, we're good.
That's right. That's right. Hey, Justin, I appreciate you coming on the show today, man. I know it's almost 11 o'clock. You probably have to work in the morning. I have to get up and go to the VA for some MRIs. So I would rather be at work, but
Yeah.
I've absolutely loved having you on, brother. It's just like talking to an old friend. I know we only met each other like a year ago, and it was through Zoom, and here we are again, but it's been wonderful. And I wish you the very best. If there's anything I can do to help you out in any way, if it's in adventures or if it's, just helping plug your show, on Instagram, whatever, your guys' show is probably bigger than mine on Instagram, at least right now. Already you guys have taken off. I've loved it. I've loved it. But anything I can do for you, if it's just praying for you guys, let me know and I'll do it. Okay.
Absolutely, brother. And likewise, it goes the same way for us. Anything you need ever, we're just a message or a phone call away, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, man, you have a good night, and God bless you and your family.
God bless you, brother.
Talk to you later.
See you, man.